Yeah.
All right. So, teachers, they're often seen as gateways to opportunities and knowledge. But it is up to the student to go forth, not only to reach that gateway, but to also walk through the gateway. A Chinese proverb once said, "Teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself." And I believe this to be true because a teacher's main priority is not it's to encourage you to learn, but also to teach, not to push you to learn it and push you to understand the knowledge. They need solely focus on teaching it and encourage learning. And so I'll be going over how teachers do this and encourage learning. With that, the problems with students and their responsibility with learning, and then how what more things could be done to encourage not only the students to want to learn, but to give them ways that would be easier for them to learn. So teachers usually encourage teaching and learning by mostly by just showing their passion for their subjects. Like history teachers will always, like, instead of just giving you packets, they'll focus on historical context and maybe historical demonstrations to pull students in, to encourage them that, that this was going on during this certain point of time. Also, our teachers would probably set up like a free draw session instead of just going over the main steps of art and drawing. So instead of relying mostly on the rules, they'll let the students go wild with their creativity and try to have the students focus on what rules of art did they go over when they were making their art. So mostly teachers just encourage learning by free will and free thinking for students, and they try to come up with fun ways to learn, like demonstrations and like little activities. But the problems that students face with the responsibility of learning is that a good amount of students are procrastinators. A good amount are less motivated to learn when their teacher doesn't encourage them to learn. Some students are put in that case where they're given teachers that do only give them packets, or they do only let them watch movies, and the teachers there are giving them little room to learn and little room to want to learn, because they just see it as basic knowledge that could be easily gotten outside of school. Also, another problem students face is that a lot of students disrespect their teachers, because I would say more through K through 12 than college, because that is where we're required to go to school, where we're made to go to school, or it's breaking the law if we don't show up. So, but here it's where we pay to go to school. So, in a sense, here it's where we want to learn, because if we're putting all this money on the line, why wouldn't we want to learn? Kind of thinking like that. So, the thing with students there is that when they disrespect their teachers, they give their teachers little reason to want you to learn, or little reason to want you to pass their class and make sure you understand, because you're not helping them out with that. Things that could be done to better this is, instead of more focusing on teaching and encouraging learning, we should also focus on outside causes. Like, instead of focusing on, okay, why isn't this student paying attention to my class now, we should focus okay, what's going on in his life that's making him not focus? Like, what can I do better to make him focus, or what can I help him with to make him focus? Instead of blaming the student for not focusing, they should help the student focus. And that would help a student actually want to learn, because it shows that their teacher cares for them and cares that they get the right knowledge that they need. Another thing teachers could do is break away from showing documentaries and demonstrations. I mean, not demonstrations, packets for learning, because in a sense that's just showing your student that they could do it by themselves. And sometimes that's not true, because some people need that extra support to learn. That's what a teacher is there to do, is for things you don't understand. But when they just give you packets or they just give you a documentary to watch, they're basically telling you get the information on your own, which is not the job of a teacher. And so, and in conclusion, teachers aren't the main problem, but students aren't the main problem as well. It's a collective force when it comes to learning, and problems with learning can be fixed so that a student could be more motivated to learn. Thank you.
All right, I like the opening. I thought you had a good introduction, identification of what your topic was and what the point of view you were going to take was. You had a preview. I do think you need to kind of make those points a little bit more distinct at the beginning. I knew that those were the points that you were going to talk about, but it wouldn't hurt to maybe use a little bit of numerical signposting or draw more attention to it either by different phrasing or some transition language. In the body of the speech, I thought that was the same problem, is that there's not really a lot of transition language, and so it'll sound like it's running together if you don't do more to distinguish those supporting points. And since you've bothered to create a supporting structure, you ought to get credit for that, but it's only going to happen if people are listening to it, and we've already talked about casual listeners don't always do those kinds of things. The topic development was okay. The examples sometimes stay a little bit abstract. They got a little bit repetitive. If I heard about the packet one more time, I might scream a bit. I understood what you were talking about, okay. Presentation issues, your voice is good, it projects well. There's enough variety in it that keeps us engaged, but I do think sometimes that there's not much emotional variety in what you're talking about. And so the energy level needs to pick up here or there, or maybe add a little bit of tone to it that makes it seem like you are like occasionally frustrated or excited or interested. You're kind of going, I don't want to say you're going through the motions, because I think you're doing more than that, but there's nothing particularly distinctive about it. You do kind of in the first half of the speech get into this rhythm where you do have some awkward pauses, the ums and the ahs. That's much less in the second half of the presentation. I'm not sure if it's because you felt like you finally got into the structure and it was easier to follow, or that you were just using the examples again so you didn't have to reinvent them. But I did notice that it was a little bit less prevalent in the second part of the speech. Your gestures are limited because you've got the nervous hand grasping thing that you do the whole time that you're speaking. It's like you're washing your hands in the invisible water and soap right there. And you do occasionally have some indicators, so it's not a huge problem, but you do want to be aware of it. Your facial expressions are limited. You have a tendency to, part of the problem is your eye contact. You're looking off. I think this side of the room feels like you were talking to them, except for the folks who were on their phone at the time. Those folks probably didn't give a damn what you were saying, and I'm going to have to beat them. Remind me to bring my baseball bat on Tuesday, okay? So that part is, but you have a tendency to talk to this side of the room. I don't even know if you saw the time signals at the end. It seemed like you were just kind of like, these poor folks over here, they're so nice and polite and they're so quiet and they're not getting any attention whatsoever. Give them a little bit of love too. Yeah. The hat down over the eyes is a contributing problem on that too, so that's a little bit of an issue. I thought you had a reasonable exit and summary at the end. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need the...
No, that's your souvenir of the day. If you want me to, I can sign it. You can sell it on eBay later. All right, Kimberly, come get some topics and send Samantha in.
Is it fine if I mute my professor?
If you must.
All right, thank you so much.
Not fine, but
I know.
we take what we can get.
I know, I'm sorry. Have a good one, Professor.
All right, I'm going to try.
Later.